Hello and welcome back to the Chaos Standard Podcast. I'm Uncle Flacco and I'm so glad you've joined us here today. That's right, we have everyone's favorite benevolent overlord. Mason, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Uh, I prefer the term dictator, but thank you for the overlord.
Yeah, no problem. And so the reason that we have our benevolent dictator here is
Thank
because
you.
uh, we have a fun little Banlist episode. I know it's always a hot topic of contention around a lot of competitive games, but especially Magic. So we wanted to talk about our thoughts on ban lists. But before we get into that, the current format is actually a new format. Joining Legions M13 and Markov's at Karlov Manor, we have Invasion, Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, and Streets of New Capenna with Battle of Wits on the ban list.
This sort of episode has been long overdue. I've been saying for like the past what 7 or 8 episodes. Oh yeah, I'll get around to recording a Banlist episode with you, Flacco.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, I'm a very busy man. I have lots of pizzas to make.
Yes.
Um, but I am finally here, and I would love to tell you all about how I do my best to provide a fun and fair format for everyone.
Yeah, and first, I want to go over why we have ban lists in the first place. And I think the best place to look at for that is Pokemon. There's a huge fan community called Smogon, and their 1v1 formats tend to have a pretty extensive, well, not really extensive ban list, but some
It's
formats
fairly
have,
expensive.
yeah, it's more than you'd think there'd be for Pokemon. And a lot of people just say, why is there a ban list in the first place? Just don't have a ban list and let people play with what they want to play with. And um, I know that one of the
They've done
prominent
that.
community figures actually ran a ladder with no ban list, and that format just it devolved into 5 Pokemon that sacrificed themselves and one Basculegion with last respects, and that format
Yeah,
was not fun.
that doesn't sound fun. But from there, that's like taking it to the extreme. Why in normal circumstances do we have a ban list? And we can take that and say that that metagame became over centralized around a particular strategy, a strategy that was very difficult to counter.
Yeah, it
So
was very one-dimensional. It was very powerful, and it did not leave a lot of room for creativity.
it doesn't have any nuance to it whatsoever, really.
Oh boy, I
So
put
what
Terra Normal
Smogon?
on my Basculegion to be immune to last respects. Creativity.
Oh my gosh, my opponent did that too. Whatever will we do? But yeah, so what Smogon does is they do tiering based on a usage threshold over the course of however many games they play. They are data driven. They are extremely data driven to the point where it annoys people.
Mhm.
Um, However,
uh,
what we do is by no means data driven.
we do not have enough data to be data driven.
We don't have enough data to be a regular ass sample size. So we have to do vibes based ban lists,
Woo!
where Chaos Standards ban list, for the most part, comes from was a small event that we ran over the course of like 2 or 3 years in another server. It was like 7 or 8 friends just kind of playing a bunch of really shitty decks, like not good Magic. It was good Magic, but not good decks.
Yeah. This was
And
a server
from
that
there,
I joined later in. This is the server that Mason and Aqua and a few others were in.
we ran events for probably like 2 or 3 years, and then it kind of died. But we took a lot of the lessons that we learned from that event, we compiled it into a like spreadsheet, and from there we were able to curate what sets we liked seeing, what sets we didn't like seeing, what cards were very much not fun to play against. For a while, Cabal Therapy was on the ban list because it wasn't fun. Uh, but with the small player base, a smart player would be able to guess with pretty good accuracy what the opponent is playing and get a clean 2 for 1, 3 for 1, whatever the hell Cabal Therapy is. But that doesn't really work the same way in this slightly larger event because there's more people. It's less predictable what people are going to play. So we took that off of the ban list. It's maybe not a fun card to play against, but it's inherently a fair card in a closed list format, which is how we run our tournaments.
Yeah, Cabal Therapy does certainly get a lot worse with more decks and closed lists, but
Yeah,
I think we're getting
yeah.
a little bit ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, I'm sorry about
That's okay.
that.
Uh,
I had a lot more to say than I thought I did.
yeah, that's okay. One other thing we wanted to quickly touch on is for us, we have learned from experience that ban list discussions are not fun. They're just the
That is
worst.
correct.
And so,
They extremely toxic.
so if you want to make a randomized standard format of your own, we would highly recommend just banning ban list discussions. That should be your
Yeah,
first ban.
that one is always on our ban list. I'm pretty sure that it was one of my requirements for taking the TO spot to begin with. Whenever I run a format, I do not tolerate vanless discussions. It's just more mental and emotional investment than I'm willing to make. I have a job, I have a life. I'm not going to sit and debate a 17-year-old about why they think some cards should be legal to play.
Exactly.
I run the tournament. If you want the card to be legal, you run the tournament.
Mm-hmm. But you're running it, so
Yeah,
uh,
and it's not like I'm not being petty, I think. I just, it's not fun to breed toxicity in the chat room that's supposed to, be a bunch of people hanging out and playing Magic. That's not cool.
exactly. And at the end of the day, we're all just trying to have fun.
That's right.
So, before we talk about banned cards, we should talk about banned sets. Because even though you
Yeah.
can have like every single set ever printed in your set list, some of them are much better and some of them are much worse than other sets. So,
Yo.
the first category of sets that we have banned are sets that are just too old. A lot of these sets either tend to be too good and or too bad. The power level on individual cards can vary wildly, but as a whole, they're just so far under what sets even like 5 years after them happen to be like that they're just not worth including in our opinion.
Yeah. And then the flip side is that even in these same sets, some of the cards are so powerful that they wildly triumph over cards that would get printed for like the next 5 sets or whatever.
Something like
For example,
beta,
yeah.
like alpha
Um,
beta, or is
yeah.
an example of a set that has like too many good cards in it. But then sets like Fallen Empires or Ice
Just
Age
one or two.
have almost
That's
nothing.
right. And like going specifically into Ice Age, uh, Ice Age without Necropotence is barely even a set, and Ice Age with Necropotence is barely even fun. And that actually does come from experience, which is kind of funny. We did run an event a while back where Ice Age was a randomly generatable set, and both of the people that got Ice Age placed in the top two, and they were both on Necro.
Yeah,
So
Necro's a good card.
Yeah, Necro good. And Ice Age has Dark Ritual in it at the same time. It's just very convenient. It's not fun.
We should talk a little bit about why we don't have Throne of Eldraine on the set list.
Oh my god.
This set, it obviously has like a couple of cards that are just ban worthy on their own. Things like Oko Thief of Crowns and Once Upon a Time are just leagues ahead of everything else. But at the same time, the constructed decks that you build from that set, things like the Jund Sacrifice deck
Ooh,
or the Adventures
wonders.
deck, are just on the whole, they're much more powerful than almost anything else that you could possibly spin into. So every time we spun into Throne of Eldraine, it just became Throne of Eldraine constructed.
With a couple cards from other sets to, beef it up.
Yeah.
But when we ran Team Unified events and someone spun Eldraine, all three decks that the teams would play would be Eldraine constructed, and they would be different enough, wouldn't step on each other's toes, and it's just bananas what that set is capable of doing.
Yeah, Throne of Eldraine
It's
like consistently tops events that it's legal in.
yeah,
And the final category of sets is other sets that are like really powerful, but taking off too much of a set just leaves the set kind of gutted.
fair.
So you don't, it's
Yes,
almost unrecognizable. Examples of these sets are Urza Saga and Mirrodin.
versus Legacy. Yeah, both Urza Saga and Legacy. The Mirrodin sets, all six of them.
We have
Um,
Fifth Dawn legal, but the other
oh, yeah, that's
five
true.
from before modern day are not fun. But yeah, there's just like all of these sets have a lot of really powerful cards in them. And in order to take away enough cards that it becomes a similar power level to other sets, you'd be taking away just far too many cards. I don't have an exact number of how many cards you can take away before it's just too many, but
Yeah, it's vibes based.
yeah.
We don't have to have an exact number. If we feel as though we've banned too many cards in order to make it work, it's not worth it.
All right, I think we can finally move on to individual card examples. The first example, we have to get this out of the way. In line with Wizards' decision to ban cards that are, for lack of a better term, racist.
Not welcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
not welcoming.
Yeah. We don't want to play those cards because they're not welcoming to a diverse audience that plays Magic. So
Yeah,
we're banning them along with every other constructed format.
yeah. No racisms. Racisms are bad.
Yes. The next one we want to call out specifically is wilderness reclamation.
Yeah. So, Wilderness Reclamation last format was banned because I should have done the previous format. Not that I'm trying to make up for it, but I did make a mistake in the first format. It will be banned when it comes up again. The card is generically strong. It does not produce good gameplay path. It is a zero cost mana doubler. That's kind of silly. It pays for itself the turn it comes down.
Yeah, very stupid.
And while it did not pop last event, I don't think that that's the bar for what should lead a card to be banned. We wouldn't ban Wrath of God if two control decks made it to the format or to the finals. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Actually, that does remind me there was a discussion that happened many years ago where a user wanted to ban Supreme Verdict from one of these randomized events. And it just kind of blew my mind that someone could sit there and say uncounterable Wrath of God is not a healthy card for this format, but the rest of Return to Ravnica is.
Yeah, I know.
Return to Ravnica is held together by Supreme Verdict.
Oh yeah.
That set is so busted. I don't know. Like, you're probably just populating pack rats or something. nonsense without. No, I guess you still have potentials here. Not really the point. Point being,
It's part of the reason why we don't have ban list discussions.
yeah, yeah, that kind of circled all the way back. Ah, that was too big of a callback. Jesus Christ. Wilderness reclamation banned because it's generically way too good.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter if we have like extremely strong instance to pair with it, like Magma Opus. What matters is that it opens up lines of play that are not conducive to fun.
Yeah, and like basically anything breaks the card, so it's not just format
Yeah,
dependent. Like you're always gonna find something to do with it that does the thing, and the thing is not great to play against. So
right. And like for example, in this format, finding wilderness reclamation likely became too consistent with the rotation in of Moonblessed Cleric. That didn't really factor into the decision to ban wilderness reclamation, but having access to so many copies of wilderness reclamation is not particularly healthy.
hmm, to be clear, Wilderness Reclamation isn't a card you'd be able to play in this format anyways, but AFR is
Oh
a
yeah,
set that benefits Wilderness Reclamation if it were in the format.
thank you. I My brain just spazzed out a little.
Your brain doesn't have to work. It's okay.
That's totally valid. I'm on vacation. I don't need a brain.
Yeah. The next card we want to talk about is Umezawa's Jite. Um,
Dumb card.
very.
Real dumb.
It's not like the card couldn't be unbanned in Modern, but that card by itself just absolutely obliterates creature decks.
Right.
And
So
uh,
modern is a really big card pool. We do not.
that means it does
And the card,
even bigger things to
yeah,
us.
it does even more damage in our tiny six set format. It's not okay. It's just not okay.
Yeah, if you're
It's
playing creatures, you can't not
strong.
play Jite.
Yeah. And these days we don't even have the convenient legend rule of my GTAs now destroy your GT, which then would have further over centralized it because there is then no reason not to play GT because your GTAs would be destroy target GT.
Yeah.
Dumb card.
Mhm.
0 out of 10. It's too good.
Too good.
Way
Uh,
too good.
and even though this next card isn't too good, it's even less fun. It's Teferi Time Raveler. This
Yeah.
format
For the
is
same
fun,
reasons.
and that card is
For the
not.
same reasons. For the same reasons that wilderness reclamation is not healthy for a game. Actually, I guess it's a slightly different reason. It breaks a fundamental rule of magic that, your opponent can interact with your spells, and Teferi doesn't allow that.
Yeah, I know the meme for a while was that Magic was turning into Hearthstone. Uh, Teferi goes one step too far and actually turns it into Hearthstone for
Well, it
just
turns
your
it into
opponent.
Hearthstone for, yeah, your opponent.
You have
Yeah,
a
that's,
monopoly on the fun.
yeah, not okay. Then finally, for our most recent format, we have Battle of Wits on the ban list. And this is not due to power level reasons. This is not due to centralization reasons. This is not due to racisms, probably.
Probably.
What this has to do with is the client that we play our games on was forced to limit deck sizes in order to combat trolls. What people would do is they would load up 1,000 card decks and view them, and it would crash the opponent. So, in order to combat that, the untap.in developers limited deck sizes to 200 cards,
Which is conveniently
unless you
just
pay
outside the range of Battle of Wits.
unless you pay for premium. So if you pay for premium, you can play Battle of Wit. And that's not what this format is about. This format is a free to enter event. In the event that Battle of Wits was good, it would be behind a paywall. And that is not healthy for my fun event. That
Yeah.
is not something that I think is fair to you, the player, you, the listener. That's not fair to you. So, to that end, Battle of Wits is banned forever, I guess,
Yeah.
as long as we're playing on tap.
Mm-hmm. I don't think there are any other cards that have to be banned because of our client specifically, but Battle of Wits should not be behind a paywall, and it is. So
Yeah.
it will be on the ban list until either it gets changed or the Heat Death of the Universe.
Yeah. Now, outside of the ban list, we do keep our eyes on problematic cards. Cards that may need to be banned depending on the environment that surrounds them. We call this our watch list. For example, a card like Dark Depths is, in the absence of mass counter removal, a pretty fair card. You sink 30 mana into it, you get a 20/20. If you're able to do that, good for you.
Yeah. Even if you like
But
sink
in the
10 mana into it, it's fine. But if
yeah,
you're sinking 2 mana into it, then it's not fine.
yeah, yeah. So a card like Thespian Stage or Vampire Hexmage, which can take all the counters off of it all at once. I mean, not exactly what Thespian Stage is, not the point. In the
Bypasses the
event of
restriction.
that A plus, yeah, in the event of that A plus B combo, Dark Depths maybe would need to be banned. That's the purpose of the watch list. We keep our eye on cards that may prove to be a problem given the correct environment. Other specifics from the watch list include Cabal Coffers, which, do you mind if I tell the Cabal Coffers story?
Ooh, yeah.
So we had an event run in our other server. There was a format that we rolled that had both Cabal Coffers and Urborg, Tomb of the Yawgmoth. And I managed to convince people that through gameplay, not just through words. I know I can be very charming and charismatic, but like I actually lived the bullshit that I spewed. I managed to convince people that if you just kind of put four Cabal Coffers for Urborg into whatever deck you were playing, it would be better.
It convinced me. I think I played Cabal Grixis for that event.
You played Cabal Grixis, I played Cabal Green. The idea of the deck was that you didn't need Urborg depth, but if you had it, your deck popped off. It went way too hard.
And honestly, I think it's
So,
pretty telling that that combo is good, that they printed it into Modern through Modern Horizons 2, and it was a deck that saw a pretty good amount of play.
yeah. Whenever I had Cabal Coffers in that small Japanese event, I played Cabal Coffers because I love big mana decks. Love big mana non-green decks. Very fun. Very fun.
Yeah. And
Uh,
Cabal Coffers with Urborg was a shining
it
example of
was
that.
yeah, it was very over centralizing. And now we have to put Cabal Coffers on the watch list when it's alongside Urborg, lest anything dumb like that happen again.
Yeah.
We're okay with Cabal Coffers in mono black. We're not okay with Cabal Coffers in mono green. That's a little silly.
Yeah.
Oh man, you made such big Aeon Chroniclers.
Oh, and then I had, what was it, Detrivore to destroy their Urborg coffers?
Yeah, very excellent deck construction, my guy.
Yeah.
You did good.
So
Um,
stupid. And finally, we want to impart a couple of lessons based on other cards that are banned in official formats.
yeah.
And the first one I think we want to hammer home is Splinter Twin. People were really upset
Mm,
with Splinter Twin's banned because even though it was good and it was over centralizing, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bannable. A lot of people had a lot of fun with the deck, and you have to decide yourself whether something that is over centralizing is fun or not.
I also have very strong opinions about Splinter Twin. Mostly that at its peak, Splinter Twin was seeing like 13% play, and we are currently, like at this very moment in Legacy, seeing a 41% play rate for Viscaminator,
Woo!
which, if you would pardon my French, is completely fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Splinter Twin saw 13% play, and it got a 4 mana aura ban. Would someone please do something about Riscaminator?
Ban Grief.
Banlist is so good. Um, I will say though that nobody would have wanted to live in the world where people were throwing Splinter Twins onto Furies.
No, that would destroy the
Nobody would
creature
have wanted
decks
to live that.
even harder.
Yeah, nobody would have wanted to live through that. But Splinter Twin wouldn't really have been the problem there. It's just a good value aura, except sometimes it wins the game.
Hmm.
Maybe the problem is unrestricted untapping of target permanent.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the reason why they didn't ban Pestermite or Deceiver Exarch was because there were two of them. But
Yeah, also, and that would have been really embarrassing. And also, there's like seven of them.
yeah, it's just those two were the ones that you could flash in on curve.
Founding
Hmm.
Crisis, don't at me, please.
Bounding Graces. Hmm. The next card we
Anyway,
want to talk about is Mox Opal. And the lesson we want to talk to for Mox Opal is if a card keeps doing bannable things, just ban the card. Mox Opal was in like no less than 5 or 6 different tier 1 decks, sometimes even tier 0 decks, and it
yeah,
was over the course
Robots,
of many
Lantern,
years.
Robots, Lantern, KCI.
Oh yeah, it was in like every single archetype too. Like there was just the
Yeah.
normal affinity aggro deck. There was Urza Thopter sword pile.
Oh, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I completely spaced out of Modern at that point in time.
Yeah, Mox Opal was legal for that.
I don't like that. Maybe Mox Opal should have been banned.
Maybe it should still be banned.
Yeah. If a card, the purpose of the system is what it does. And Mox Opal, what it does is it taps for 1 mana for 0 mana. It's too good.
Mm-hmm.
Good. It's too easy to enable. And when you see cards repeatedly do the thing, you have to take action. Provided that thing is way too strong.
Which in the case of Mox Opal, it was.
Yeah. But like in the case of, if we'll go back and cite an older episode of the podcast, learn lesson cards do the same thing. And they do it very well. But, you know, some of them probably don't need to be banned.
Yeah, I mean, Learn Lesson, the
Maybe one
first
of them could.
format was really good, but in the second format, it was okay. It wasn't nearly as good. So that's not something that we're likely to ban ever.
Yeah.
And finally, Golgari Grave Troll teaches us a very important lesson about if something is banned, don't unban it.
So there are some parts of that that I'm not entirely sure I agree with because Splinter Twin should be unbanned. Um,
Yeah, more specifically,
but
if it's like actually broken. Splinter
yeah,
Twin was good, but it wasn't broken. Uh, Golgari Grave Troll was broken, and then they
yeah,
unbanned it during
and
a
then it
tier
was
0
broken.
format. And then when they
Yeah,
banned
and then it was
the
broken.
when they banned Eldrazi, Dredge just became the best deck afterwards, and they had to
Yeah,
reban Grave Troll.
big fucking shot. Great card, great. So the lesson that we take away from that is like when a card rotates in, if I have it banned, it's gonna stay banned through the next format. There's no shot that a card rotating in is gonna be less fucked up after rotation. It's still gonna be just as fucked up as the day we left it there.
Like if we ever spin into Ravnica Allegiance again, Reclamation's gonna stay banned.
Yeah, it's not coming off the ban list. I've made my decision.
Yeah.
And then stuff like what? Mana Vault, that was on the ban list in the very first format. That's never coming off the ban list. Nobody can make me.
No.
Nobody can make me.
Mwahaha. And that leads us into the outro. I apologize. We don't have any decks to talk about because we're less than a day into the new format, and we don't even have our format overview episode recorded yet. So we don't really have any decks to share for the new format.
While I do have a deck, I am not prepared to share it just yet. I need to, you know, jam a little bit with it. But there are some archetypes that I'm looking forward to playing.
Yeah. Um, I have a little bit of paralysis because I feel like there's too many decks to build right now. So I'm going to slowly work through
That's
those and
okay.
then we can come back here at a later point.
Fantastic.
So, anyways, thank you for joining me again. It was nice to
It's my
have you. Hope to have you back soon.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me on my show.
Yeah. And thanks to everyone. And thanks to everyone listening at home. If you've made it this far and you haven't already joined us on UOL, link as always is in the description. We'd love to have you here. I think that is all. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you next time.
Bye, nerds. Okay, so it's actually Murders at Karlov Manor, not Markovs at Karlov Manor.
Uh, I don't know
And
how far into the video we are, so I didn't
it's
want to
okay.
say.
I clapped. I made like a big volume swell just so that we could find it later. I've got your back. You gonna re-record? It's okay. Don't worry about it. This
No,
this sort of nonsense happens all the time, right?
no, I think we're okay. Uh,
Okay.